Hi, and thanks so much for clicking on this video. My name is Tamara, and I'm a homeschooling mom of 3. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing some of the things I do to get ready for the upcoming school year. And without any long intro, let me just get right into it. There are 10 things that I've made a list of, and I'm just going to share them. This video is not going to go into any great detail on any one of these steps that I do, but if you'd like to see more, just let me know in the comments. I'm not a YouTuber. I've said that in like every video. I make videos when I feel inspired to, but if someone asks me a question, I pretty much always answer it. And if someone wants to see an additional video about something, I'm more likely to do it if someone's wanting to see it as opposed to just doing it for myself, because I already do it, so I don't need a video for it. But if someone else wants to see a video, I'm more than happy to make one. So getting right into it, number one, the first thing I do every single year is I check for updates to the homeschool laws. Now, I live in Georgia, so the law hasn't really had any significant updates in terms of how we do things or requirements, but I still always check every year because you just never know. So I always recommend that to anyone that I speak to. The first thing is know what your state requires and keep up with it, like check it regularly, at least annually. Number two, plan your academic calendar. Using the requirements from your state, usually there's a portion in there that says how many days you have to homeschool and how many hours that should equate to. So using that information, you can then go to a calendar and determine what days you're going to be in school and what days you're not going to be in school. For us, I've said this in other videos, we homeschool for 6 weeks on and 1 week off, with a couple times a year where we have a 2-week break, typically between Christmas and the end of the actual school year in May. Those are the 2 weeks that we have off, those are the times we take 2 weeks off. But pretty much every other time of the year, it's 1 week off, because any more than that and things get a little crazy. So 1 week off is plenty for our family, but of course, always do what's best for yours. Number 3 is to make or update your attendance and grade keeping templates. So for me, I have templates already made. So for me, each year, I just update them for the upcoming school year. I'm not required by Georgia law to submit these things to anyone, but I keep the record for myself because I like to see the progression and I like to keep up with the attendance as well. We are required to keep up with attendance, but as far as turning it in, it's not something we have to do. But I do mine in Excel, and so it just makes it that much easier. If I were ever asked to send it, it would literally just be sending an attachment to someone's email. Okay, so number 4 is to select your core curriculum. And again, I'll use my state as an example. We have to do reading, ELA, math, science, and social studies. Those are the things that are in the law that we have to do. Anything outside of that is what I would call an elective or just something extra. So I always start my curriculum search with those core subjects in mind. And this year I'm planning to use a lot of the same things I've used before. 7th grade is my oldest grade that I'll be teaching this year. And so for that one, I will be sourcing materials probably a little bit differently, and I can update that in a different video. But ultimately, just starting with your core, just so you know that if you get these subjects taught, you're good to go. Anything above and beyond that is just icing on the cake and extra. And we do several extras, but selecting your core curriculum should be the first priority that you have when it comes to what curriculum should I use. Now, of course, if you have other topics that you think are more important, you're the parent, you make the decision. But if you're looking for my advice, I would say start with the core subjects that are required by state law. Number 5 I have is to get input from your kids for electives, if they're old enough, of course. But I find that even 5-year-olds can be opinionated and let you know what they like. So I always ask my kids what they're interested in, because as we know, it changes from year to year. One year they may be really, really into art. The next year they're very, very into technology. I know my daughter last year was very interested in learning Italian, and we found her a curriculum that supported that. But this year it seems like Italian is not much of an interest to her, so we probably won't add it to this year's schedule. So definitely ask your kids. I know some that are of interest to me are like PE, art and music, foreign languages are always going to be a part of it, but which language I let them choose. And then we have what I call our tech subjects, which is just an abbreviation for typing, engineering, coding, and home economics. I've also added financial literacy to our schedule as well. And again, if you'd like to see our breakdown of how I do that and how I spread those subjects out in the course of teaching for a week, just leave me a comment to let me know you're interested in that. Number 6 is to make a daily and weekly schedule template. And I would also add, if you work from home as well, which is something I just started doing last school year, make sure that your work schedule is on the homeschool schedule too. At least for me, it worked better when I knew exactly when my hours needed to be for working from home, because winging it did not work. And for me, homeschooling is the most important. So I was working around the homeschool schedule. But in your case, it may be the opposite, where you've got to work and homeschooling, you're homeschooling around your work schedule. But either way, I would put those two schedules on the same template so that it's very clear to everyone, especially if your kids are old enough to read and understand time, that this is when you're working, this is when you're teaching. And it's very natural, and try to keep it as consistent as possible. But no matter if you're working from home or not, I find that having a schedule and a template just makes the days and weeks go so much smoother than if it's like, what do we need to do today? What do we need to teach today? If everybody knows what days we do what subjects, it just makes it that much smoother to get it done. So yeah, that was number 6. Number 7 is to, this is the fun part for me, is to begin to source the educational materials that meet your needs. Once you've determined what your core subjects are and what your electives are going to be for the year and your schedule of when you're going to do them, now you can start to shop for them. And I shop everywhere for it. I can find educational resources, it feels like, in every store I go to. But some of my favorites and my consistent go-tos are Target, Amazon, TJ Maxx, Goodwill, and homeschooling friends that have taught before you. So those would be places that I would look if you've got homeschool friends who are a couple of grades ahead of you and they're doing a clear out. Maybe they want to hand you some materials that worked for them, and you can pay, or if they don't want you to pay, if they just want to give it to you, that is between you and your friend. But I would never discount that source. So if someone's got older kids, definitely see if they're clearing anything out that might be of use to you that you might want to try. Number 8 actually goes along with that, is to purge outdated or broken materials. So for example, in my case, I have some wooden puzzles that have numbers and shapes and letters on them. And my son is in 5th grade. I'm not sorry, not 5th grade. He's 5 years old. Oh my gosh, not in 5th grade. My son is 5 years old. He's going to kindergarten, and he knows those things already and doesn't really use those puzzles anymore. So if I know of someone who is getting into preschool, like I have a nephew who's maybe going to start to be interested in that, I would ask his mother if they would like to have those things this year as I'm clearing out and making room for new things. So if you are continuing to homeschool, that's definitely something that I would say, always purge, because otherwise it just starts to cave in on you, or at least that has been the case for me. Like, I have to purge and get rid of outdated or broken things. Like, obviously don't give broken things to people. I think that's self-explanatory, but outdated things that you're not going to be using anymore, it's fine to release those and let someone else possibly benefit from them. Number 9 is to store your keepsakes and the previous school's records. So most of the verbiage in Georgia law requires holding on to things for 3 years at the minimum. I keep almost everything, unless, like I said, it's something that's broken or outdated that we just plain old don't need. But in terms of school records, I have it all. Ask me what my now 7th grader did in kindergarten, and I can present you with something. Nobody's asking, but I still have it. And then number 10 is to leave room for inspiration. I do this by watching other homeschool families on YouTube and Instagram. And I also, in the past, have attended homeschool conferences. I don't know if they've started back up. but that's something to look into. I have found them very helpful in the past to attend homeschool conferences, because you're hearing from people from your state usually who have children that are older than yours, or they've gone through the entire experience and now they're sharing their wisdom. And I've always left better for having gone to those conferences. So if that's something you're interested in doing, definitely check out whatever conferences might be happening in your area. And then I put on here just a pinch of Pinterest for inspiration. And I say just a pinch because sometimes the photography and the perfection can be a little demoralizing in my case. So just a little bit of Pinterest, like use it sparingly. But those are my tips. So I hope this was helpful for you. I don't want this video to be super long. If you'd like to see or hear me go into more detail about any of those steps, just let me know by leaving a comment. And I really hope this was helpful for you as you get ready to prepare for your homeschool year. So without further ado or anymore, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.